From every strand on the line of your reel, to the rods, to the anglers, to the lures on the end of your hook, let's talk about those big bass here on Co-Angler's Corner with your hosts, Rob Welch and John Stoudinger.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John.
How y'all are? Cajun Rob from Parts Unknown. I'm traveling, so forgive the background and maybe the flaky internet, but I'm going to do my best.
Yep. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We had a couple days off. Rob and I weren't. Rob was traveling, didn't know if he was going to be able to get on, and I wasn't feeling good. Had a rough weekend. But we're back on tonight. We have a friend of both of ours on, Scott Noel. He Michigan, Ohio area. Great fisherman, great man. I believe he's full-time retired now. I'm not 100% positive, but we'll find out. And
he deserves it. Hope he is. He deserves it.
He does. You know, anybody that puts up with some of the fishermen that we do and that we have in common, they deserve to retire. So
I agree with that.
All right. So let's bring him on and welcome him aboard and get to know a little bit more about Scott. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Hey, buddy. How's it going?
We're living the dream, man.
Every day, brother. Every day. And our kids are growing up way too fast, my friend.
Oh, you're kidding. You're not kidding, man.
Hey, mine's taller than me. At 14, he was taller than I am.
Yeah, well, my 18-year-old's like 6 foot, and like, yeah.
Dang.
My wife and I are the two small ones now, so.
Yeah. I know the feeling, man. I know the feeling.
See, I'm still taller than my kid.
Not for long. It won't be long.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scott, last time you saw her, I think she might have been 1, 2.
Yeah,
No.
she was small. That was up at
Oneida,
right?
Yeah, you and Jeremy coming back soon, aren't you?
I hope so. That place, I got to get some redemption.
Hey, my place is always open for you.
I appreciate that.
Yep. Bring the missus if you want to.
Yeah, I heard you say something about retirement. I got 7 months to go. So.
Hey, a lot of in the tunnel, man. You almost there.
Yeah. It's a downhill slide now.
Oh, you got this, man. Congrats, man. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. 35 years is a long time to be doing it.
Yeah, my wife just retired at 32 October, so she deserves it.
I'm looking forward to it. There'll be a lot,
absolutely,
man. A lot of traveling.
Yep, you do, man. You do.
I mean, the field you're in is tough, even for 1 year.
So. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm one of the fortunate ones to hopefully make it through. So we'll see. I'm not wishing it away, but when it comes, I'm looking forward to chapter 2. I spent a little more time on a Ranger boat than in the office. So.
Oh, absolutely, man. Don't blame me there, but we appreciate your service, man. I know what hard work and hard hours you've had. So, hey, man, we appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
All right.
So, Scott, for those of us them watching out here who don't really know much about you, if you want to give a short background about you and your fishing, and we'll go start there.
All right. Yeah. So I live in the Ohio, Cincinnati area. I hate to say it, but I don't fish the Buckeye division. Like it's just tough to fish those tournaments. I've done it before and I've won on the Ohio River. So I choose to go to either St. Clair and fish the Michigan division, or this year I went down and fished the LBL division out of Kentucky Lake, because you can go to both of those places and you're weighing 15 to 20 pounds a tournament instead of, hoping for a keeper. Now, with the regionals, the way MLF is doing 2025, with the regionals closer to home, I'll probably jump in a couple more local derbies. But, I like going to St. Clair and catching, 20-pound bag and finishing 24th, It's just fun to go up there, or down to Kentucky Lake. I can make both of them in about 5 hours or so. So that's just what I choose to do. But with their new format, I'll probably fish a few more Buckeye divisions, just because, quite frankly, some of them are within 30 minutes of my house. I just don't fish them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. Your home waters, was it Rocky Point? I fished over there a couple times, and man, that is a pretty area out there. It's tough fishing, but it's It's awful pretty out that way.
Yeah. So you're talking about Rocky Fork in Hillsboro?
Yeah, Rocky Fork. Yeah, I mean Rocky
Yeah,
Fork.
it's about 50 minutes from my house. You know, the thing about that place, Rob, is in the springtime, like from February to April, it'll take over 20 pounds a tournament to win those. And I've caught four fish. I've caught 4 fish out of there over 5.5 pounds, and one of them was 6.5. And there's bigger ones in there. Like that lake, man, for as small as it is, I mean, it's one of the smaller lakes around, but it's loaded, and especially in the springtime, like you can whack them. If you don't have 15, 18 pounds, you might as well just toss them back in the lake and go home, because you're not going to get a job.
Wow.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Dang.
Like right now, and I fished a tournament, local derby there in July. Like it gets tough. I'm talking 8 to 10 pounds will probably get you a check sometimes, and 13 maybe you'll win it. But in springtime, it's on fire.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed coming through Ohio, it was a lot of corn is already dried out. There's guys like harvesting corn already. I'm like, but it looked like everything is real dry. And they tackle shops went to said the water's real low, so sounds pretty tough.
Yeah, I haven't cut my grass in 4 weeks.
Dang.
Like it hasn't rained, and it's not supposed to rain. Like I think it's been 2 weeks since we've had even a noticeable drop. It's been pretty dry.
Same up here. Ricky Hurd says, "How you been, Scott?"
Good, Ricky. How are you, man?
Hey, Ricky, good to see my old buddy Ricky from Texas, man. I'm glad the storm missed you this time, man. They've had all the rain down in Texas, Louisiana, I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen Ricky since we were down at the Bassmaster Classic, I think.
Yeah, same here. I talked to him quite a bit, but I know I think every day he's worried about the storm coming through. He still had trees down from the last storm, so he had a mess.
I can't, Scott. Isn't it great not having to worry about that?
Yeah. I mean, we get an occasional tornado, but we don't get anything like Ricky gets.
Yeah.
Like those are some legit storms. Like I watch those tornadoes on TV, and I'm just like, no, thank you. Like we don't get anything that size.
Yeah, I used to live in Hurricane Alley in South Mississippi, so I've been through quite a few of them.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm in Kentucky.
It's a lot easier to predict snow than a hurricane.
There you go. You shovel enough of it.
Same. I used to skip school to shovel snow.
Yeah, I'm about done with that too. Like I said, I got 7 months to go, and that's the conversation we're having is I don't want to shovel snow. So I don't know if we're going to be snowbirds. I don't know what we're going to be, but I want to be able to fish year round. That's what I want. So we've gone to Guntersville and looked around a couple times at houses. I don't know where we're going to end up, if we end up anywhere, but snowbirding sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
Hey, they haven't been ice fishing up here in a couple of years.
Yeah, I'm not much for ice. I mean, I can sit out in a tree stand and deer hunt all day long, but I've never gotten into it. I mean, probably because I haven't gone with the right people and had a real fun day at it, but I'm just not that ice fisherman guy. And I sure the hell ain't driving my pickup truck out on ice on St. Clair like some of these guys do. And the ice breaks and the Coast Guard are going out and doing rescues. Like, no way, man. No way.
That's crazy.
My nephew's in the Coast Guard, and he got stationed. Where was he? I can't remember. He was in Michigan, and that's what he was doing.
Yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, but no, I'm with you, man. I miss those days where 15 pounds would cash a check. That doesn't happen in New York very much anymore.
Yeah, it's still the Buckeye division here. I mean, if you catch, 9 to 11 pounds on Tanner's Creek, I mean, that's going to win it. And when I won on Tanner's Creek years ago, and I was just talking with my buddy yesterday, like it's been so long since I won. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to win again. Like, I think these guys are getting better and I'm getting old. Like I won that tournament with 4 fish that weighed 9.6, and there was over 150 boats in that tournament. And I won it by a pound. Like, it's just crazy. This division. Now, that's why you see guys like Brody Campbell and Bill Lowen and guys that are from Alex Redwine that are from Cincinnati that are sticks on the tour, because if you can catch fish in Ohio, you can catch them anywhere. Like,
absolutely.
These guys are coming out of here because they're used to grinders those grinder tournaments where you're going down there and you're hoping for 5 bites a day and that's it. And these guys are, they do well here, and then they get on the national stage, and then they, they're going to lakes to have fish in them, and then they, it's a whole different story. But it's tough around here. Not to say you can't have a good day on it, Tanner's Creek and catch 15 pounds, but typically it's in the single digits or get you a really high finish. And
I think I fished one as a co one time, and I caught one fish on a buzz bait, and I almost got to check one fish on the co side.
I fished one down in Moundsville, West Virginia, which is still the Ohio River, and I had one smallmouth that weighed 3.2, and I finished 9th. One smallmouth. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes you can catch 5 fish and they only weigh 5 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, that's the key. You got to catch that keeper 3, 4, 5 pounder, and they're in the river. They're tough to find. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Kudos to those guys that get their teeth beat in and week out. Like, I just, everybody chooses their path, and I like to travel. I like to go down to these, these bigger lakes. Kentucky Lake's one that I'm really learning, and I had some really good finishes this year in the LBL division, and I'm digging it, man, because you can put a flipping stick in your hand, or you can put a drop shot in your hand. So whatever way you like to catch them, like I have, we've all listened to the forward-facing sonar for, like, I'm sick of listening about it, but I have it on my boat. I have it on all the time, but I never caught one fish on forward-facing sonar in Kentucky Lake this year. Like I said, I have it on, but I don't fish that way. I look for more like stumps, rocks and stuff like that, and then I fish the way I like to fish. But I'm not that guy that can sit and stare at the screen. And not to say I wouldn't enjoy it, because I do it on smallmouth, but I use that forward-facing sonar in Kentucky Lake totally different than a lot of people do. I'm looking for the structure, and then I'll fish to my strength, which is crankbaits and flipping and stuff like that, as opposed to throwing that, the minnow, which I'd love to learn. I mean, it's just one of those things you got to go out there and force yourself to learn it. But, like I was talking with you guys earlier, like my first tournament out of the chute this year, having never fished Kentucky Lake in the spring, I finished 11th out of 160 boats, and it was fishing the way I wanted to fish. Like, I wasn't being forced to throw a minnow on a jig head. I power fished and caught it 17 pounds and finished 11th. In the next tournament, I had another 17 pounds. I finished 15th. Same way, power fishing. Like, it wasn't, not that I'm criticizing drop shot, because I throw drop shot a lot, but I like to. There's nothing better than power fishing 5-pound smallmouth. And when you're
absolutely, that's
5-pound smallmouth on a crankbait or, flip, and that's the neat thing about Kentucky Lake, is you can have a lay down in 3 to 4 feet of water, and you can flip a beaver in there and catch a 5-pound smallmouth on a lay down. Like, you don't have to be in the middle of the lake. So that place it's fantastic, and it's a good place to go and learn different techniques. Like, if you want to be a forward-facing sonar guy and you want to throw that drop shot or that minnow out on the main sandbars, and you can do that. But you can also get right up on the bank and flip the rocks, flip the brush piles, flip the docks, and you can catch them the same way. So it's just, I like to mix it up. I try to learn a little bit on the forward-facing sonar stuff every tournament, but it's just not my gig. Now, do I think they should have ever banned it or that? No, I don't. I think at that level, it's all equal. Now, I'm on board with all the changes. The one transducer, the no, power pole, trolling motors. I'm good with all that. But I mean, all of those guys have access to the same stuff. So
absolutely, Yeah, used to, like, the one lake, Barkley was smallmouth, and then Kentucky was largemouth. And it seemed like they're kind of both kind of the same now.
Yeah, and it used to be north end of the lake, south end of the lake would separate, where the largemouth and small. They're all over now because, some of those guys are running south. They're catching those smallmouth in the spring, and then they're bringing them up to Kentucky Dam Village or Moore's Resort and dumping them in the tournament. So now the north end of the lake is just like, it's phenomenal. You don't have to go south. A lot of guys still run south, but you don't have to. Like, I could tell you the first 3 tournaments, I never fished south of the first bridge. Like, I stayed north the whole time. And Barkley typically warms up first, but Barkley can play sometimes. The water's different. Like Kentucky Lake is a little clearer than Barkley, but if you're a flipper or you like to throw a big spinner bait or chatterbait or something, you can get some dandy bags on Barkley. I had a co-angler early this year that he lives down there, and they win just about every Tuesday nighter, and he lived on Barkley. So it's a neat area, and I'd never done it, and my buddy said let's jump in it, and after the first couple, I had an 11th, a 15th, and a 20th the first three, and I was like, well, I'm staying in this gig. So,
yeah.
I get to go to Pickwick in a week and a half for the regional, so I haven't been to Pickwick, so that's going to be new to me, but it's still a Tennessee River lake, so I can't imagine it's going to fish a whole lot different. Hopefully the weather's cooling down and the nights are getting cool, and that topwater bite will come on, and there's some big fish down in Pickwick. So.
Oh, absolutely, and smallmouth. Yeah, smallmouth here as well.
Right. Now, I don't know if I'll get up in the tail races like I've seen some of those guys do and stick that boat up in those rapids, but
no.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to run my boat up there first to try it. Now, if somebody would show me how to do it, I'd probably be game to get up there, but I don't think I'm going to try to put this 521R up there and have to be getting some gel coat work done when I get back. So,
no, I'll blame you.
I'll pass.
I sent Rob a picture of a Skeeter today that it's only $109,000.
I saw that, the new 2025 X, what is it, FXR or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good retirement gift.
Yeah.
That was my first house.
I'm gonna have to throw myself on the sword on it. Like, I got my retirement gift a year early. My wife did not throw a flag on my new 521R, so I told her I was just buying it a year early. So there won't be a new boat in the future in the Noel house. If so, I'd probably be getting a divorce.
It's been too long. Stick it out, man. Stick it out. No, I got a question for you because you fish Ohio River once in a while when you have to. Do you think it's harder for you being going to a place where you're not going to catch a lot of fish, where you're just going for one or two bites, and then going to like New York where you've done that before, where you could catch 20, 30 fish in an hour or two?
Yeah, it's definitely a mental adjustment. I mean, it's, and there's some adjustments that I've failed to make and paid dearly for it. I'll give you, for instance, the Oneida one that we all stayed in that same house. Like, I had some people tell me, like, this was pre, information and all that stuff. Yeah. They were like, those fish are going to be shallow. All right. Shallow is a relative term to a lot of people. Like, I didn't know shallow meant I should see the dorsal fin on the fish. Like, I thought shallow meant 3-4 feet, 2, 3. No, like the guy that was catching the largemouth out from underneath the docks, I don't know how he didn't see the fish he was catching. So those are kind of the nuances that are, you have to adjust, and sometimes I adjust well and sometimes I don't. But yeah, I think sometimes being from here can be a handicap because the Ohio River fishes the same way most of the time. Now, the difference would be extremely low water, or when it goes to get blown out and it's at 33, 34, 35 feet and the current's, and the creeks are rolling mud, then it fishes different. Other than that, it's probably a detriment to a lot of guys is your focus gets real narrow because it fishes the same way all the time. Like, the guys throw the same baits in the same places. The same guys that win the tournaments win them in the same areas because they replenish, and they're just areas. There's a lot of areas on the river that don't hold fish. And then the areas that do hold fish very small, and there's several boats in there. So the guys that do that, calculate a good milk run and have a good mental game are the guys that do well. I mean, a lot of guys, and I try to help as many people. I mean, I've had people reach out for BFLs for the last 10 years. Like, hey, I'm not asking for GPS spots, but give me a creek or, give me a bait or something. But it's tough, man. It's tough if you're not from here. Rob, you know that. You fish and one fish all day long, like 8 hours, and you catch one fish.
Yep.
Or
it was a grind.
out is is if the first hour or two you miss one because because you know you're going to pay for it. You know that fish, especially if it's a 3 or 4 pounder, has just cost you a lot of money, and then you got to try to get that out of your head and continue the next 4 hours of fishing, knowing that you just let $500, swim away. That's
you catching 8 and 10 inchers is like, dang it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of 12-inch fish in that river. And there's a lot of 11 and 3/4-inch fish, which you spend a lot of times trying to get them on the – because, all you need is 5.
Flip them. And
I don't care if they're 5, 12, and an 8. You're getting paid.
Yeah.
If you have 5 keepers, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got to lip out a little more, get the old hook and dingle it around and drip them out. Yeah, Scott Callan says definitely a handicap. You have Erie deep in the southern deep. Then you have Florida deep.
I agree with that.
I'm with him. And sometimes my downfall is the deep. They were shallow this last time on Kentucky Lake. My co-angler made the second day of the super tournament out of the back of my boat, and he was I don't know, he caught 2-3 pounders, and we were in 14 inches of water. Like, I don't even know where the fish came from. Like, he literally throws his Cinco out there, boom, here comes a fish out of the water, and I'm like I could see the bottom. Like, I don't know where the fish was, unless he was just sitting on top of the rock, blended in, and I just, scanned by him or whatever. Sometimes it's you're spending more time looking at your graphs and looking at the trolling motor, and especially when you're in that shallow water, you don't want to rip your trolling motor off because your live scope on it. So you're looking around where, that co-angler can just keep casting. And, he made day 2. So, more.
Yeah, like sometimes they'll lay in the mud. They'll get way down, lay in the mud. I've seen that.
That's it. And that's something that I constantly work on is shallow means, dude, throw it up there where it's dry.
Yep.
And then bring it into the water, and then you got it covered. But it's
Absolutely.
not my typical way, so I have to force myself to throw up even shallower, because Guntersville was the same way in that Freedom tournament I was telling you about. Like, those fish were dirt shallow, like dirt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's times, Andrew says hi, there's times on Oneida where you cast on the bank, right, on purpose, and as soon as that bait hits the water, it's gone. It's like, how did the fish get in here?
It's almost like they're facing into the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, their nose is on it. Their nose is on it. Yeah.
Back of them, right? And
how did he get in 2 inches of water?
Yeah. So and it limits your bait. You could throw a rattle trap or something, but you're snagging it on tree limbs and everything else. So you're throwing a swim jig, you're throwing a Cinco, something like that, small chatterbait, but so if I have an Achilles heel right now, it's when people say it's shallow, I need to just start at the bank and work myself out instead.
There you go.
Goal is to start, at that 5 to 6 foot range and then work myself in, but then I've wasted a couple hours. So that's my goal for 2025 is, to hit some of these, Kentucky like that and fish shallow.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Florida deep is 5 feet.
Right. Yeah.
We got the Baker May chiming in.
Yeah, the professional,
the newly crowned Jeremy May champion, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Congratulations are in order. I saw his stringer from last weekend in the John boat. Congratulations, Jeremy.
Hey, good job, Jeremy. And no, Scott's saving houses. Last time I saw him, he was rescuing our baker from a pie.
The pie was already gone. The pie was gone.
That's funny.
You're welcome, buddy. But it's weird. Like, when you were up at Oneida, my wife took the time out to make us a pie and cookies and all that stuff, and some guy had to go ahead and ruin it for the rest of us just so we could eat the rest of it.
Right. Yeah, no, I think I ate more cookies on that trip than I've eaten since that trip.
I don't blame you.
Cookied out. They were so good, though. I don't know how many I had. I think I gained 15 pounds in 7 days.
Well, I think in Jeremy's defense, he was going back to his Cajun roots and tried to blacken the pie, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, and then the rough water got him. He's not a rough water guy. He'll be the first one to raise his hand and tell you that.
Yeah.
We warned him, didn't we, John?
We tried. Rough water. And I was telling the guy, like, I just came back from the Potomac, and the guy's like, it's going to be rough. I'm like, okay. And it's like 1 and 2 footers. I'm like, that's a calm day up on Oneida.
Right. It's same thing with me. I fish St. Clair, the Detroit River, and Lake Erie. Like, don't get me wrong. I would rather there, just be, 1 footers, a little bit of chop. But I also go out there in 4 footers. And I mean, you just get used to it where, some of these guys, man, like it's rough. A lot of these guys, these tour guys that come from Alabama and Arkansas and stuff, they've never seen waves like that. And then they go up there and they end up getting in trouble. They tear their boats up because they try to run 65 miles an hour across St. Clair in 3 footers. And the next thing you know, you're at the service trailer getting your trolling motor put back on, or you lost your front graph or something. And I mean, every great once in a while, you'll get a day on St. Clair that you can run your boat wide open, but they're very far between. I mean, typically it's 30, 40 miles an hour at best, and quartering waves and riding the waves. And you just learn how to drive a boat in crappy conditions, Hey, you see, Jeremy, y'all could keep that crap up there. Yeah, that's what it is. But you just get used to it. So then, like you say, John, when you do go to a lake where they're like, hey, it's rough, you're like, this isn't rough. And then your co-angler thanking you at the end of the day, like, dude, that was the smoothest running ride, because you learn how to run those waves.
Yes.
And there's a way to do it. Sometimes up on Erie when they're wash tubbing, especially coming through, the Miracle Mile there in Detroit, coming down Detroit River. Yep. I don't care how good of a boat driver you are, you're getting beat up because the waves just don't dissipate. There's those shipping walls on both sides, and the waves just sit there, and then the wind's out of the south, it's backing up the current. And I mean, it's horrible, but it's what we do it. I mean, it's what we do. So
Brock Big Ol' Fish says cookies. I'm in.
Yeah, old Brock.
Oh yeah,
Brock's the man.
Jeremy says we had 4 foot on the James with 7 foot swell, and it was bad.
Yeah, I've been out in 6.
Oh, you have that.
Yeah, he's learning to ride him in a John boat. Now I'll pass. I'm going out on a John boat in 6 footers.
No. Yeah. You learn real quick how to break a ton of shit.
Yeah, I agree with that statement.
Yeah. I mean, Scott's absolutely right. You either learn to drive it, or you got a big Visa card that can pay for all your stuff. And I prefer not to beat my stuff up. And I tell my co-anglers that now. Like, we'll get to wherever we're going, but at my age, and I mean, I got pins in my neck, and I got a back that's been surgically repaired. Like, it's not worth it to me to run that extra 5 or 10 miles an hour. Like, I bought this 521 for a reason. It's a smooth ride, and we'll get there. I'll do it at 55 instead of 70, or
absolutely
whatever. So I don't know. I think you get older and you get a little bit smarter, and it's not always about the speed. And, you got a co-angler in your passenger seat. So, you got to worry about that too. I don't want to ever injure a co-angler driving, silly. So I take all that into account. I know a lot of guys don't, but I mean, a lot of these guys that I talk to now and that are jumping on here, I've had it as co-anglers or something, and I want to keep them as friends. I don't want them to be like, man, that guy couldn't drive a boat. I never want to be in a boat with him again.
I'm kind of reading this comment from Jeremy. If I have to take Dramamine, I'm staying home.
Eat them like M&Ms, bro. Eat them like M&Ms.
There you go. Man up.
I don't take it very often. I honestly don't. The only time I'll take it is when I officialed last year for the Bass Pro Tour. I knew the one day was going to be 4 to 6ers. Now, if I'm not fishing, it affects me differently because you're sitting there looking at a scale, you're looking at an iPad, you're doing this all day. If I'm fishing, it doesn't bother me at all because I don't pay attention to it. But when you're sitting watching somebody else fish, I'll throw a patch on or something just because I don't want to be I don't want to have I've pulled Dave Dudley a couple times. I don't want to be Dave Dudley's official and be puking over the side of the boat. Like, we usually have a camera with us, which I don't want to be a B-roll film, of me hanging over the side puking. And like, I just don't want to do it. So, but if I'm fishing, I don't get sick. I don't get sick at all. So
Jeremy says he has to take him in the bathtub.
yeah, he said it affected him for a couple of days, man.
Wow.
He
looked great around the gills.
I think it affected him on his ride home.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, hey, that was a fun trip.
That was a fun trip. We got to do it again.
Yes. And Rob Gibson, anytime he's around, he can use that grill.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's good on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly didn't eat fast food that week.
No.
Oh. Uh-oh. 3 days after.
Exactly. And it wasn't even rough.
That's great.
It wasn't even rough, was it?
That was so funny.
Woo.
That was the place I put all my eggs in the topwater basket. And the first morning of the tournament, I rolled into that pocket that I was catching them in, and there were 4-footers busted on it. And I was like, oh, that was a bad move, man. I shouldn't have, because I was catching them on topwater. Like, I was whacking them. And then the first 2 days of the Open, it blew, and like, I just never made up. I just never figured it out. I mean, it was a horrible finish, but
yeah,
had that weather held off another day or two, I'd have probably been in the top 10% because I was catching 14 to 16 pounds a day on topwater.
Wow.
It happens. Like, it wasn't any different than this year. And, a lot of people, like, they've asked me about, like, I fished the Bass Open on St. Clair, and I was looking forward to that tournament for the entire year coming up. And, like, I was never on the fish to win it. Now, my 2 travel partners, Austin and Manny, for that tournament, they had a chance. Austin ended up getting a check. Manny just barely missed a check. But we were all fishing in the same general area. But that's why I took off almost a month after that tournament, like, mentally. Like, I just couldn't recover from it. I'd put so much time and effort into it. I'd spent 7 days or whatever the official practice was. And then I went out the first day, and, like, I struggled. I never saw, like, I didn't see half the fish I was seeing. So we come in, and, Manny's got 21 pounds and Austin's got 22, and we're all staying in this VRBO, and they pull in, they're like, how'd you do? And I'm like, I don't even remember what I had, like 6 pounds or something the first day. And they're like, what? And I was like, I didn't see, like, those fish are gone. Right. And they're like, they're not gone, dude. We're in the same general area. Like, I don't know what you're doing, but something's wrong. So I went out the second day, and almost the same duplicate they are. We came in after the second day, and we're sitting in the driveway, and we're talking, and Austin's like, man, it's like, we never expected you to do this bad. And I'm like, I'm not seeing the fish you guys are seeing, and they're seeing all kinds of fish all day long. And I asked Austin, I'm like, look at my live scope, like, see what you think. And he looks at it, and he's like, your live scopes, I never paid any attention to it for 2 days. I'm just taking my trolling motor and undoing it and putting it in the water. And, like, I'm in this mindset that I'm going to catch, 18 to 20 pounds. And, but I didn't look at my stuff, and my live scope had turned. I was never going to see those fish. So he unscrews it, puts it the way it's supposed to be, tightens it back up. I fished the BFL the following day. I only ended up having 17 pounds, but I jumped a 5 and a 4 off at the boat. Should have had close to 21. I finished second. Like, that's what tournament preparation does, and I didn't do it. Like, I just assumed my stuff was going to be good, but we were in some rough water, and I didn't check to make sure my stuff was squared away the night before, and it cost me. And it's my own fault.
Yeah,
people say, well, you should be able to catch those fish without live scope and everything else. Those fish had been beat on for weeks. And when you got 200 open guys, I mean, those opens now are almost like an EQ. Like, there's guys
absolutely.
that are on tour fishing those things, Alex's travel partner ended up winning it. Like, I mean, he's an elite guy, but those fish were so skittish, you had to throw that bait right on their head, which you had to be using live scope.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it was my own bad. Like I literally had to take a month off to just recoup. I didn't fish any here at home. Like I was so disappointed in myself that I didn't look for those little preparation details. And not to mention it's expensive to fish those opens. You know, the entry fee is expensive,
Absolutely.
the house is expensive, the gas is expensive. So, you know, you dump $4,000 or $5,000. Hopefully my wife's not watching. You know, and you make a stupid mistake and your stuff's not squared away the night before the tournament. So that'll never happen again. But you know, that's what happened in the
sometimes you gotta learn a lesson the hard way, man. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's like, you know, I say St. Clair's my home lake. I mean, I live 5 hours from it, but I drive up there a lot to fish it.
Yeah.
And then to have a performance like that, it was
Nice.
like I didn't even want to talk to anybody. And it was all my stupid mistake. So
So Scott,
sometimes you can reset.
Yeah. You meant to say $400 or $500, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. 4 to 5.
All right.
Oh yeah. We misunderstood you there.
Yeah, and a tank of gas, you know, we're back in 2020, 2021, where it's only $60 instead of 120.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jeremy Mace, I'm going to guess and say this is about Oneida. He said he ran across the middle of the South wondering why he was the only it out there besides Trey Zaldane.
You've said enough.
Yep. That might have been a clue and you missed it.
Jeremy says, good night, gents. I have kids to get ready for bed. All right, buddy. Hey, take care and be safe and don't get sick in the tub. Okay. Brock Bigglefish says, in your best words, explain to non-tournament anglers the difference between dopamine rush, between bite fun fishing versus putting 5 keepers in the live well during a tournament.
Well, Brock should know this because if anybody's Facebook friend with me or Instagram, like Brock drove down to Kentucky Lake to pre-fish with me before I believe it was the July tournament on Kentucky Lake. So he drove from Missouri to Kentucky Lake to pre-fish with me for a couple of days, and he wanted to fish Kentucky Lake because he'd never been there. How many of your buddies would drive 8 hours to fish with you for a couple of days? Like, not many. But Brock did it.
No.
And, we went out, and he and I had an absolute blast for a couple of days. Now,
cool.
The interesting thing with Brock and I, I know he's going to say something about it, so I'll go ahead and say something first. We got to a laydown in one of those creeks, and I flipped in there and I caught a fish, and I flipped in there and caught a fish again. And I know people are going to say, why are you burning those fish up? Because I knew those fish weren't going to help me in the tournament. That's why. Because a 15-inch fish is not going to help me in a tournament on Kentucky Lake. But I'm flipping in there, and like I get up to number 7 on the same laydown. And Brock's like, how many fish do you think you can catch off that thing? And I'm like, I don't know. So I sat there, and between him and I, we caught 20 fish off of one laydown in the creek on Kentucky Lake. So we were having a good time, you know, like we were laughing, but it's not the same as tournament day when you're putting 5 fish in the boat. It's a total different laugh. And what I'll equate it to is if you've ever watched a younger kid kill his first deer. You ever watched a kid do that? If you ever haven't witnessed that, I've witnessed it with my middle son. You get that almost laughter it's a nervous laugh because you get the adrenaline dump.
Mm-hmm.
And some kids you see them on video, they cry, you know, because you just get that dump. And that's the dump that Brock's talking about. When you get your 5th keeper in the boat, for instance, the February tournament down on Gunnersville, I think the 5th fish I caught was a 6 something and put us over 20 pounds. Like that was an adrenaline dump. Like if anybody would have had some surveillance camera on my buddy Daniel and I, like we were screaming like 2 little schoolgirls. Like we were fist bumping. Like he's got this fish in a net and this thing is huge and it's on a wacky rig Senko and the thing's barely hooked in its mouth. Like we're jumping around. Pre-fishing, it's fun. We had some laughs. Brock and I ate. We joked around. Like we took some videos, some pictures. But man, when you get that 5th fish in the boat and you're in a big tournament and you're fishing against, you know, some stiff competition like that, that adrenaline rush is like no other. And I think, to be truthful with you, I think that's what we chase.
Yeah.
Certainly,
Oh,
I
yeah.
would love to go down to
Absolutely.
Pickwick and win the regional and win $65,000 and get a trophy and, go on to the All-American and all that. But I don't know that that's what we chase. I think it's the same with my job. For 35 years, you're an adrenaline junkie, and I think that's what we all do.
Oh, yeah.
Fishing is you get used to that adrenaline dump when you catch a 4-pounder or when you're throwing a Zara spook and a 5-pounder comes up and blows up on it. Like, it's a whole different ball game when you're in the competition and you're catching fish and you're catching good fish and you're putting them in the live well and you're calling them out and you got a shot. I mean, the first 2 tournaments on Kentucky Lake, I had 17-2 and 17-2, I believe. Both tournaments exact same weight. But I knew once I got to 17, I'm like, I'm getting paid today. Like, this is fun now. Now let's go for the win. Like, so it's a whole different ball game than when you're pre-fishing and just having a good time. Now, I would say we probably all could use to do the fun part a little more and maybe a little less of the competition, because I think sometimes you can burn yourself out and we lose sight of what we really probably started fishing for, when we started, which for me and for a lot of people, it was fishing with my dad, fishing local tournaments and stuff. And I still remember those days. And, when you get a little older and your parents are gone, I'd give a lot of money to fish another fun day with my dad.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So
That schoolgirl comment, I think we should change that to when Jeremy gets off the Oneida Lake.
Yeah, well, that, or I guarantee you he was screaming when he finally won last week on the job.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's I don't know those guys. I do know Chaz, and Chaz is probably one of the. I think if he had the financial or could, because I know he's recently married and got a kid and stuff. Like, I think if he would have the means to get out on tour, I think he would be like, I think he'd be a hammer. Dude catches fish.
Oh, yeah.
Like, every time he posts it, he's getting first or second in the tournament. He's got 18 to 20 pounds. He's got big fish. Like, the dude can just catch fish. So those guys are legit. There's no doubt. And good for Jeremy. I hope I get back in the winner circle in one of these. I can win a local tournament. I can do that. But, man, bust to one of these big tournaments, BFL regional or, the Freedom Tournament down on Gunnersville. I mean, when you're fishing against Davey Height and Gerald Swindle, man, we beat both of them, but I don't know I can beat them every day.
Yeah, and a lot of over local hammers in that one for sure.
Right.
So.
Oh, dude, that was the who's who in Alabama. Like, we were looking at this thing, and I mean, like, there was 6 or 7 like legit either elite guys or MLF guys, and like, we just happened to catch 20 pounds, and like I said, we won the first responder kind of subdivision, which was kind of cool. I think we had 20 pounds, 4 ounces or something. And it only took 22 and some change to win it. So we were close. We were calling one fish out from really giving that thing a run. But it's fun to go down on Gunnersville in February when it's, there's snow on the ground here. And, I was
I had a Toyota. I had a Toyota there one time, 325 boats. And we had a 2-hour fog delay.
Wow.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
And Gunnersville's a big lake, but it fishes kind of small.
Yeah.
Because
it
there are
does.
certain areas, certain creeks and, certain areas of the lake that you can go and fish for hours and not catch a fish. But then you get in a spot and there'll be 40 boats in there. And then, it's a matter of who catches that kicker bite. But that's a special place too. And it keeps.
It is.
As long as they don't kill that grass.
It's a short bush special. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's John's favorite lake. Not so much.
Man, I don't know. I think if you fished it a few times, you might change your mind, especially if you have, because I think every fish, like, I don't know that we caught a short fish down there.
I didn't. I didn't catch a keeper either.
Yeah, I mean, every fish is 2.5 to 3.5 pounds.
Yeah.
And then the big ones, I mean, the big one, a 9, 8. We had, I think, in that Freedom Tournament, I caught a 6. I think it was 6.5 somewhere. It was mid 6s. Then I had a 5.11 and a 4. Like, those are 3 that I caught. Like, they're huge. I mean, they got shoulders this wide. They all look like footballs. There's not a skinny fish in the place that I saw.
No.
Like, they're just, even the 16 inchers that every once in a while you'll catch. Like they're 2.5 pounds. Like they're built different down there. And I'm assuming it's the grass and, obviously the bait and everything else. But, it's no different than anywhere else where there's grass, there's going to be big bass, and I wish more of these states would learn that, especially Ohio, because they try to kill all the grass. Indian Lake is a prime example. They go in there and they spray it and they chop it up, and like they do it because the pleasure boaters complain that it's choking out. Like, okay, then kill half of it. Like take half the lake and, keep it for the pleasure boaters and the ski-doos, but don't kill all the grass in the lake.
Yeah, have like one section, like divide it or something. Exactly.
Right. But Ohio doesn't do that. And then they kill all the grass in in 3/4 of the lakes. Now, Rocky Fork, you mentioned that earlier. Rocky Fork's got some grass, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it used to be. Up north, they fish mosquito. Mosquito's got some grass in it. But typically, Ohio lakes don't have a lot of grass in them. That's not to say you can't find a grass patch here or there. Or, maybe a bank's got some grass on it, but they'll kill the grass. They just keep these lakes grass free, and it doesn't do the fishing any good. I can tell you that.
Yeah, they're trying to do that.
They did that Chickamauga in the 90s. I remember when I was living in Knoxville, and it took it 8 to 10 years, and then it just went boom, it exploded.
Right.
So, unbelievable.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So, any plans for next year? You're going to wait until after this year?
No, I mean, I'm looking. Certainly, I mean, this year I jumped in the Bass Open, at least the first one. I didn't go to the second one, and I didn't go to Mississippi because I told you I had such a bad deal. Like I had some personal stuff going on. We had a vacation that we scheduled that I wasn't going to unschedule, and I'd done so bad in the first one. Like it just didn't bother me to not go. I mean, I'd have loved to gone because I had 2 guys I was traveling with, but at the end of the day, like it's almost like Rob said, it's like I need a reset button.
Yeah.
So looking at the MLF schedules next year, certainly that changing the regionals to closer. So I don't like today or next week. I'm going to drive 7 hours down to Pickwick. Now I'm okay with that because Pickwick's got some nice fish in it, but I've also driven 11 hours to Wisconsin to fish the Mississippi River. Like that's a little excessive. Excuse me, for a regional. So like now the Michigan division and the Buckeye division will go to Lake Erie. Like Lake Erie's that's the water I fish. So I got a 3.5 hour drive to a regional now. So I will probably fish a few more Buckeyes next year and probably a few Michigans. The Bass Open schedule hasn't come out yet for 2025.
Right. Yeah.
They're saying they're going to go back to the old way with a couple divisions and, maybe 4 tournaments in a division. And then if you're in the top 40 or 45 in points, then you'll qualify to fish the last 3. Like it really depends on what those lakes are. Now, if one of those lakes is St. Clair, I'm probably going to have to make a decision. If it's not, if it's not St. Clair or Erie or someplace, Kentucky Lake, I'll probably go back to the Toyotas. I don't know timing wise, like we were talking a little earlier, I'll retire at the end of April, early May. So I don't know if I'll be at the end of I don't know if I'll be able to commit early to fish like a Southern division of Toyota. I may, but I'm typically at mid-year. Like the Plains division is, I believe it goes Lake of the Ozarks, Kentucky Lake, which, this year, like I said, my first 3 times I've ever fished Kentucky Lake in the spring, I had an 11th, a 15th, and a 20th. So I'm starting to learn that lake. So there's a Toyota in the Plains division on Kentucky Lake at about the same time I was sacking 17 pounds. So if I can duplicate anything close to what I did this year, next year in the same time frame, same month and everything else, 17 a day will play in a Toyota Series. I promise you that. If I catch 50 pounds in 3 days, I may not win the tournament, but I'll be in the top 10 or somewhere close to it.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid, put it that way. So,
and Toyota's got the best bang for your buck by far. I think.
don't disagree with you. And like, I don't get into the MLF bass argument and one's better than the other. I fished them both. I've fished
Yep.
way more MLF tournaments than I've fished Bass Opens, but I have fished them both. When FLW still had co-anglers, I made the FLW championship, which was down in Alabama, and I was on a stage in front of 20,000 people weighing in a co-angler bag. After the first day of the championship, I was in 6th place. So I'm an MLF guy from when I started. I mean, when I won my BFL on the river, it was the Red Man. That's how old I am, and that's how long it was that I won that one. And I still have the trophy up on this shelf. It's Red Man. It looks like
I think there's that.
Yeah, it's like a spit tune. But I'm leaning towards the Toyotas. Certainly I'm going to fish the Freedom Marine Tournament on Gunnersville in February again. Like I said, we finished 18th, won $1,500, won the first responder category, which I want to say there were close to 40 boats in that, just in that side category. So we won that. If you've never fished that tournament, it's really cool. Now they're going to cap it this year at 200 boats. But this guy that runs it owns Freedom Marine. Every place that ends in a 5, so 5th place, 15th, 20th, 25th, 30th, 35th, all the way to 200, he gives you $1,000. So if you're 195th place, you get $1,000. Any place that ends in a 0, they give you $500. So if you finish 10th, 20th, 30th, 40th, 50th, 60th, you can finish 200th. They give you $500. So we're standing at the weigh-in, and he says all veterans come down to the front of the stage. So there's probably 50 veterans. He pulls a wad of cash out and gives each one of them a $100 bill. Thanks them for their service. Everybody walks off. He says, okay, now all the kids under the age of 18, they all come up and say, he gives them all this. It's all about giving back. Like, I don't know how he could ever break even unless he's got a sponsor that does it, or if it's a write-off. It was one of the most fun tournaments I've ever had, and had no idea. Like, I think it only pays $5 or $10 to win. But when it's Swindle, and it's Trey Swindle, and it's Davey Height and his son, and those guys, it was just something cool about fishing. So I'll start off probably in Gunnersville in February. If I do fish the Plains Division at Toyota, it'll be Lake of the Ozarks in February. I believe Kentucky Lake's April. And then they don't have their third one until September back on Lake of the Ozarks. That's my tentative plan. But if Bass Open rolls out, let's just say, and it won't be this way, but let's say they roll out a division that says Kentucky Lake, St. Clair, and somewhere else, I'm fishing the Bass Opens. Like, I'll go where I think my best chance is of doing well. Not that you can't go to Lake Seminole and do well. I mean, I've cashed checks on Santee Cooper. So, I mean, I would go to Santee if I thought that was my best option. So I'm leaning towards Toyota, but I'm also not closing the door totally to the Bass Opens again, especially if they switch it back to the old format where you don't have to fish all 9. Because quite frankly, I don't have the funds to fish all 9. Well, I have the funds. I'm not willing to spend the funds to fish all 9. I don't want to be gone from my family and my wife and my dogs and everything else for 9 weeks out of the year. Probably spend close to $100,000 in hopes of making the elites, where I'll be honest with you, I don't know that at 55 years old, like, I don't know that I'm in fishing shape to fish 7 days a week for 9 weeks or whatever, however many tournaments the elites do, plus traveling. I just don't know physically if my neck and back would hold up to fishing 7 days for 9 tournaments. I don't know. So I'm not going to tease it. Like, I would probably give it a run if I qualified, but I don't know that the elites are my deal. I think if anything, if I and people have asked me, a lot of people work and associated with my job that asked me, hey, you're going to be a pro fisherman full time when you retire. If I were to do that, I would probably do the Bass Pro Tour. That's the one that fits me the best. It's fewer tournaments. And like I said, I'm an MLF guy. Nothing bad against BASS, but I fished 120 MLF tournaments. The guys are like family to me. Alan Gray and all those tournament directors. I mean, I talk to them on Facebook. I talk to them on Messenger. You know, I can call them on the phone. That's who I know, you know?
Yeah.
I'm with you, Brock. I'm with you.
Brock, if you don't know Brock is about 5'6" and weighs about 130 pounds.
Oh, hey. He's not round.
I'm about 5'6", weigh about 155.
He'll say something smart to me here in a bit, but
all right, Scott, we appreciate you coming on and talking to us about your adventures and stuff like that. So we want to give you time to, you sampled my wife's cookies.
yes.
What's your favorite cookie? Homemade cookie.
I'm probably one of two. My number one would be a chocolate chip. I'm pretty simple, but a good peanut butter cookie is hard to pass up, especially if you got a cup of coffee. But
Agreed.
I can eat a chocolate chip cookie at 7 in the morning, or I can eat it at 7 at night. And you're spoiled. That's what I'll tell you, John. Because if she cooks for you even once a month, and my wife won't be mad at me for saying, my wife won't get mad at me for saying this. My wife has a hard time boiling a hot dog. Like that's just she always says, do you boil the water before you put the hot dog in, or do you boil the water? You're like, she can't cook, and she admits that. And so to have a wife that can cook, especially chocolate chip cookies or pies, or like, I think your wife should open a bakery is what I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Fund your fishing by selling baked goods.
Tried that angle, Scott, but she doesn't want to lose the love and passion for it that she has.
Yeah, I get it. I mean,
me too.
I had we have an ice cream store down here called United Dairy Farmers, and I had an aunt that worked in the ice cream plant, and she said she can't look at ice cream.
Yeah.
I get that. If you bake chocolate chip cookies every day of your life, all day, it'd probably get tired of the smell of a chocolate chip cookie, which I don't eat them very often. So when I smell, especially one that's still got the chocolate chips that are melting a little bit, like that's a good smell. Perfect.
So Constance is all in for me doing the Toyotas next year. So that Northeast division is going to have some fresh cookies.
Yeah. So what is that? Is that St. Lawrence, Potomac, and
it's Potomac, St. Lawrence, and Champlain.
Yeah. So I've been to Champlain. That's a special place. I actually pulled my boat up as a co-angler. When the FLW, like I said, had co-anglers, I'd pull my boat to various places and fish by myself and see if I could figure something out. And then I'd fish the tournament as a co. Like that's the only place that has the quality of fish that Champlain does, that I launched my boat within 15 minutes. I was catching fish, and I mean good fish. Like, so typically Champlain, you either fish north at Plattsburgh or you fish Ticonderoga south. We launched south at Ticonderoga, and I was probably catching 16-pound limits in 15 minutes. Like it was phenomenal. So I haven't been up there in probably 10 years, but I'd love to go back. St. Lawrence, I've never been. And by watching that Elites up there this year, like I think going up there trying to figure it out the first time, I'd probably get it handed to me. I don't want to cut myself short because I think I can catch fish just about anywhere. But man, those guys on the St. Lawrence, I'm sure you would be fishing against the Johnson brothers. If the Elites don't go, they may not be able to be on.
The Elites don't have a tournament on there this year.
Okay, so then they can fish it. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have an off week that you don't see. I mean, they own that. I'll say own it because they fish so much out of it. And, I don't know. Champlain's 12 hours. I think Potomac's about 8.5. And then I would think St. Lawrence is probably 10. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's about 2 hours to.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards that Plains division because I really think Kentucky Lake the way those fish bite in the springtime plays into what I like to do. So I really think that if the stars would align for 3 days in a row, I think I can compete on Kentucky Lake in the spring. I think I would have a chance to at least make the championship day. I'm that confident. First 3 tournaments I had and the key is to have big fish. Like you can catch a bunch of 3-pounders, you're going to have 15 pounds and you're probably not going to get paid. The first 3 tournaments I had a 5-pound plus fish in each one of those 3. So knowing those areas, and I don't think they were specific I wasn't fishing a brush pile. I wasn't fishing a stump. Like I was fishing an area. So I think whether I went to Kentucky Lake next April or 3 Aprils from now, I think it just plays into my hands. So unless something really happens, I'll be fishing the Toyota that has the Kentucky Lake in it. And then I like the fact that they brought back the championship. Like that's a huge deal. I don't know that they necessarily put as much stock in. Like that's a big deal for a lot of guys.
It is.
Like, and it's a lot of money. And then you can go, if I'm not mistaken, it puts you to Red Crest.
Yep.
So it's just a big deal. So unless Bass pulls something out of their hat, I'll be a Toyota guy next year. So, and Brock, you're right. I'm a P-line guy. I mean, I wear my P-line hat all the time. I can tell you since switching to P-line, I have not broken a fish off that has cost me anything in the tournament. And Brock, he had never caught a smallie as big as we caught on the last day of practice.
Oh, wow.
That VFL, he caught a smallmouth in an area, and he giggled for 10 minutes, and we high-fived, and he took a picture. But it's his personal best smallmouth, and it was on P-line. So
he giggled
shout out
like
to my P-line people. You won't find anything else in my boat. I use tactical on just about everything except for my braids. So
yeah,
P-line's my gig.
He jiggled he giggled like Jeremy May getting off on Night of Lake.
Yes, sir. I'll tell you, it was a nice fish. I'd have given money for it the next day because I'd have made money on that one too if I'd have had that fish. It was a beauty.
All right, buddy. Hey, we're in overtime here, so let's give you the floor so you can talk about some of your sponsors, people who've helped you along the way, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I would just sit here and try to rattle them off. I'm sure I would miss. I will tell you, I think that was the key to certainly the first 4 tournaments of the year is, I have my boat set up. I had it set up from Hennessy Outdoors down in Tennessee. They're not a sponsor of mine. They don't give me a dime. They didn't give me a cut. But I will tell you, my boat, any elite guy could jump in my boat and fish. My boat was sitting next to Gerald Swindle's boat and Carl Jacobson's boat getting done. Like they treat your boat, if you're a regular guy, the same as they treat the elite guys. So my boat is set up. So a couple things that have really changed for me. Obviously P-line. I'm on Daiwa's staff now, which, man, that's something I worked for since I was 21 years old to get on Daiwa. And it just happened because my buddy Chris is on, and he talked to the guy and got me on. But it's something I've tried to get on. The Daiwa rods, the Tatula Elites, I've got all of those. The Miller Tech battery. I used to, because I'm running 4 graphs. I'm running 4 low range HDS 12s with live scope. So it was a real draw. And about 11 o'clock running live wells all the time and everything else, I was getting low voltage alarms. But now I got Miller Tech on board, and that solved that issue. So that peace of mind, I don't worry. I'm not looking at my phone, looking at my battery charge. I'm not worried about the performance of my boat. It's set up the way I need it. Like I said, I could fish the Elites or the Bass Pro Tour. Obviously P-line. But the big change this year is Hamilton Bait and Tackle brought me on board. And if you guys haven't jumped on board Hamilton Bait and Tackle's website, do so. If they don't have something, get a hold of me and I'll put you in contact with Ben, who runs the show. Ben will get it in. He will order it. He will ship it to you. Every tournament I've fished, I talked to him the night before. He's like, you need something, I'll overnight it to you. If you happen to get on and order something, use Scott Noel Fishing 10 and get yourself a discount. But Hamilton Bait and Tackle brought me on board. Certainly, I don't need to talk about the perks I get from them. Certainly, it's certainly worth my while. Hopefully I gave them, before the year's over, I'll give them bang for their buck and they bring me back in 2025. But a huge deal financially for me. Takes a little worry out of, pulling money out of the checking account all the time to go fishing. So line cutters, Woo tungsten, amphibious sunglasses. I've got a whole host of them. They're on both my Facebook, which is Scott Noel. I don't keep it. I don't post a lot of private stuff on there that I wouldn't care if people saw. So people follow me on Facebook, it's Scott Noel, or Instagram, it's Scott Noel Fishing, or TikTok. I'm 55 years old, but I got a TikTok account now because you got to have them. So I'm learning all that. So, certainly a list of the sponsors are on there, and I appreciate each and every one. John Hayabusa, new to them this year. Kurt is a tremendous guy, man. He's one of those guys, just like Christian from YOLO Tech. It's a guy that I have his phone number in my phone, and I can call them anytime I need something. And that's huge, man. I'm not getting on a website and sending a message to somebody that'll get back to me in 3 days. I try to condense my sponsors down this year and only go with the stuff that I use religiously, that I will absolutely stake my reputation on. Like, I'm not going to tell you to go buy a Hayabusa hook that I know isn't a good hook. Hayabusa is a good hook because you don't lose those bits.
Yes.
Look at Eddie Carper. Like,
he's a believer.
Look at his texts and his posts from the last month since you turned him on to those drop shot hooks up at Lake Erie. Like, this is a guy that's fished the NPFL, and he's like, these are the best hooks out. Like, it's just what it is. So, I aligned myself with Mercury and these, they're just, I can't say enough about them. I appreciate each and every one of them. And hopefully they all retain me for next year. And, maybe we can get in the winner's circle, because I'm certainly due.
Well, you're good with Hayabusa hooks because they have a 2-year contract.
Right.
Awesome.
Dave Archibald says he found my P-line hat. I want it back.
If he needs one, I got a couple, but it isn't his.
Hey, Brock, your fish. Rob and John, thanks for helping us learn a little more about fishing. Always a good show. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Eddie Carter.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
He couldn't believe it. He came over to my house around the 4th of July, had some cookies and had some fun. And we went out on the lake 10 minutes away from my house. And we were out there for a couple hours, had like 23 pounds, and every fish I hooked, I had to take pliers to it.
Right.
Because once those Hayabusas get in there, they're a pain in the butt to get out.
Yeah. Sometimes they're like, it's almost too much.
It is.
Which I would much rather have that problem than not having them stick. So I'll worry about getting them out with a pair of pliers. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Speaking of Eddie, and I've told him this, so if he's watching or next time you talk to him, he's in Ohio now working, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
If he and I ever team up in a tournament, somebody better watch out, because he's the same type of, like, it's the same type of fishing. So that would be dangerous. I've told him if he wants to jump in a Dixie Marine tournament or something, I'm game. So yeah,
that'd be awesome.
If he sticks around, maybe we'll get out and try to do some damage on somebody.
Yeah,
I see it happen. That'd be awesome.
I think he's got a bag packed ready to move to New York, but I don't think his wife's going to let him.
Like, hopefully he goes back to the, he finds a way and gets somebody that'll back.
I think he will.
The guy can fish, and he's a good guy, and he's a dying breed, and I'll put myself in the same category with him. He just tells you like it is, whether you like it or whether you don't like it. He has an opinion. He's going to give it to you. And that's a dying breed. So, I hope he makes it back. I know he's striving for that. He's a big supporter of the MPFL, and I hope he gets back there. I mean, he certainly puts the time on the water. So
he does.
Yeah, he's straight shooter. Shooter. He's a good guy.
And that's a shooter.
Straight shooter, but.
Anyways, anything else, Rob?
No, we'll be cheering you on, looking for you, man, and congrats on the retirement.
I appreciate it. Yeah, 7 more months, but
awesome.
Yeah, fingers crossed for Pickwick. Hopefully, I can go down there and have a good showing. So I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Take care, and good luck for the rest of the
year. Take care, man.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Awesome guy, man.
It is. He is.
That's one guy. Solid guy right there.
Yeah, you can sit and talk to him all day. But
Oh yeah, absolutely.
he's right, Eddie. Eddie, if you're watching, I'll even message you later. Get in touch with Scott. He knows Lake Erie, so he might be able to help you crack that nut on Lake Erie. So.
Yeah, and you two, and them two on a team, you ain't beating them.
It's going to be tough
At all. That's murderer's row right there.
All right. So next week.
Slow down now. Slow down.
Look, I'm already looking forward to fishing next year. No, next week we have on Monday and Woman in Fishing, Katie Grice Huff.
Yep.
Your boy Rock Holiday, Rock the Dock on Tuesday.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And Wednesday, the Northeastern Toyota Series Professional Angler of the Year, Kyle Cordiana.
Wow, that's huge. Great guy.
Yes. All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in. You know, we apologize for being off a couple days, travel, and not feeling great from my smoking room I got stuck in. But that's a story for
me and John have been burning the candle at both ends. Just candle ain't as big as it used to be.
No, it's not. So everybody take care. Have a great weekend. Rest of the week. Have a great weekend. Be safe out on the water. And
and go in line and peace out.